Everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Abigail B, and if you are new here, where have you been? I'm so pleased to be back talking about something that is very, very key when it comes to interior design. It's a must. Like, without this, then your place will not look aesthetically pleasing and beautiful, and that is about mess and untidiness. Let's get into it. So, why is your house a mess? Why are you looking around and it just does not look good? I would say the first key thing that you need to get rid of, if you have it, is children and pets. I know that sounds really mean, but they are the number one denominating factor. Yeah, are there statistics? There must be statistical data for that. They come first, and then it comes the spouses and people that are just generally lazy and so forth. But yeah, they just bring mess with them, don't they? So it's about like teaching and training is so important with them. Get them involved in the cleaning routine. You know, let them see when you're cleaning. Make it look like it's something enjoyable, so that it doesn't look like it's a mundane task or something that you're giving to them as a punishment, because then they won't do it and they won't find the joy in doing it. So if it becomes a natural element to them, even if they're playing in areas where you probably won't encourage playing, then once they've done that, they will then take their stuff and go somewhere else. I know with animals it's a bit hard for them to train, but perhaps maybe put them in areas where they're gonna have less mess, or they can run around and be free and be creative and have as much mess as they want in those designated areas. Training them is difficult, but children, you can mold them, you can discipline them. So yeah, I would say definitely do that. So that's my number one thing, and that's an add-on because I have 4 more. I've written this down this time because I find that sometimes my videos I go on a tangent. Yeah, I have got 5 more tips actually to give to you that's going to help your home look more tidy and less a mess, because when it looks messy, it looks cheap and downgraded. We don't want that. Furniture pieces. So you want cleanable furniture pieces. I used to be, and I think there was an era where it was all into the mirrored and glass furniture, and glass can also be quite useful in some aspects, but the mirrored furniture just attracts the dust. Like, they say hello, they say dust, come, just come. The dust looks like fur on top of it. Like, it's absolute no. So things like that, just be intentional the kind of furniture pieces you're buying, because if you wanted to be cleaning every minute, then you do that, yeah. But this mirror attracts dust as well. There's just so many different furniture pieces that do that. Some furniture pieces that have a very matte coatings can sometimes attract dust, and they're very hard to clean. In fact, you can clean it and the dust can come back straight away. So just be quite intentional with the surfaces that you are bringing into your home. I'll say anything that's glossy and shiny or well coated is quite good. Natural materials with a really nice coat like marble, or just quartz or anything like that, perhaps even wood if it's coated really well. Those surfaces are quite good with a nice varnish spray, and you just wipe that down, and that really does take the dust away. Using a microfiber cloth as well that's dust free works amazing. And open your windows, let the ventilation in, get the dust out. Yeah, another thing about furniture pieces you want to think about is ones that can be reused, like some that are sustainable and washable. There's so many at the market at the moment, and even like in the UK, I've seen Dunelm, Next, there's a few other places like that are now having washable rugs, so you can literally take them out and wash them and bring them back. But I would also say with that, don't allow it to get so dirty before you wash it. Don't think that, oh, I can wash it afterwards, so I'm just going to let it, rinse out and let it do its due course. Don't, because the more dirty it gets, then the harder it is for it to look still nice after it's been washed. Washing is just going to revive it. It's not going to take all the stains out, so just be mindful of that. But that is really good, useful, and they might be a little bit more expensive, but I think that they are worth it so much, because yeah, it can last longer and you can always maintain it and keep it clean. So yeah, I have a washable rug. Mine is from Ruggable. It's an American brand, but you can buy it in the UK as well online. So many nice designs on there. If you have like furniture pieces such as your sofa or your statement chairs, perhaps put them in areas where there's low traffic. Your sofas, make sure you get ones that you can actually take the covers off and wash them, or if not, they have a really good package for cleaning, or they have repellent. I think you can like sometimes spray, or sometimes materials are repellent to like water and other things, so that it reduces the amount of permeability in there that will just take in the stain and make it hard for you to clean. So just remember those aspects as well. Curtains, I can keep going on. There's so many things out there, so you definitely have no excuse for your furniture pieces to be looking dirty. Another thing is about intentional construction. I just made that term up because I was trying to find a word of how to word it. But basically, when you are decorating or you're bringing construction work, renovating, just think of these key things that you want to just bring to mind or actually execute that will allow the cleaning to be less. So my number one thing would be, like, if you're doing your bathroom and your tiles, just bring your tiles a bit more closer together, especially on the floor tiles, so that your grout is very thin. If your grout is thin, then it means that there's less dirt going inside, which is visible for you to see as well, which means you don't have to clean it as often as well. So make sure that if you are, perhaps you're doing a reconstruction or reno, or if you're in your home, you just want to upscale it, think about your light sources. If you do have really small windows, how do you maximize the light coming in? Perhaps maybe you want to change your walls a bit from a lighter color, because the lightness that you bring in, the brightness, really helps the space to feel quite rejuvenated and fresh, and the freshness will definitely heighten your mind to think that the space is clean, and it will bounce the reflection of light. So even if it's not clean and you walk in the space, you will pick up on the dirt. You perhaps will see dust lingering in the air, or you'll see it on surfaces because the light has catched it. So it's really good and clever in that aspect to bring in more light and think about how you can brighten the room. Of course, I'm all into moody interiors and colors. So if it's like your living room, then obviously you have to have a different cleaning routine for that. But I'm talking about other areas such as your kitchen, bathroom, perhaps even your bedroom as well. If you are someone like that, and maybe go for more minimalistic style as well, make things look very seamless, so to your eye things are looking visually clean as well, because it does that to your mind, it gives that illusion, and it then encourages you to upkeep it as well. Going on in terms of cleaning is your cleaning habits. What's your cleaning habit at the moment? How often do you do your regular cleaning? So like, your normal dust and damping, do you do it weekly? Do you do it every other day? And then like cleaning areas that you probably won't clean as often, like cornices, getting rid of all the dust and the cobwebs. Even if, like, for example, if you have paneling, sometimes it has collecting of dust just above the molding wood. Like, how often would you go around and just clean those things as well? Above your door frames, those type of things where dust can collect. So have a routine, and definitely I would say write it down, because sometimes if you just have it in your mind, life gets busy, we're doing this, we're doing that, and we will forget. So perhaps maybe store it in your phone as an alarm, so when the date comes, oh yeah, and then you plan for it, and then it's in your diary, and then you're going to commit to it. But doing that as a routine makes it very easy for you to kind of keep on top of it as well, because you plan with yourself for it mentally and physically, and then you get nice products, get things that are non-toxic, things that smell nice as well, to make the experience very enjoyable for you as well. So play music, have a dance, put a podcast on, maybe have a long chat with a friend whilst you're cleaning as well. It just makes the chore, I said chore is it chore? I don't want to say the word chore because I feel like it brings a negative connotation to it. But yeah, it just makes the task seem easier for you to do, having a really good routine. And with the routine, I would say do little things that are unique to you. Do things that make sense to you as well. So like, for example, I did listen somewhere about someone that does organization. He advised that going around with a dust bag or bin bag whilst you're cleaning. So going around in each room and just going around and just looking around and think, okay, do I need this? Why is that there? And if you don't, just be really ruthless and just chuck it in. If the bin is not readily available to you, you look at the item or the thing that's there and you're just like, oh, okay, when I come round to it, I'll put that in the bin. Or when I'm making my trip to the kitchen, I'll put that in the bin. I am not really encouraging you to have a bin in every room, because it just is, sometimes it can be quite nasty, it can smell, and it's just encouraging that kind of accumulation of dirt in one specific area. So me personally, I just have one in my kitchen, but that's a really good idea about just going around with a bin bag. I've adopted that skill, and just collecting things and then putting it in one place whilst you're doing your cleaning. Also with the cleaning comes organisation, and I'm not going to talk too much about decluttering, but we all know that's a thing as well. But that shouldn't happen all the time, but every so often, even with, as I said, going around the bin, that's kind of decluttering on a very smaller scale. But decluttering is key. Maybe once a month, just go around and do that. But organisation is paramount, because if you train your mind to know where things are and there's spaces and places for items, then when you are cleaning, those items will go just in there. Let's stop, and I'm talking to myself as well, about having a storage basket or a drawer that just accumulates everything and everything, because when you stuff things in there, it becomes accumulation of mess, and you haven't really solved the problem, you've just covered up the wound. And in your mind, it just is another repetition. Oh my gosh, my words. It's just another thing about mess. Even though the space may look tidy, there's an area that's hidden of mess. And for me, you just don't feel really revived from it. You don't feel like your space has been lifted. And then again, subconsciously, it won't encourage you to do more. So have everything to have a space, a place. Another thing with that, when things are intentionally being organized, is that when you walk around the room and you pick an item like, okay, this shouldn't be here, you know exactly where you're going to put it afterwards. If you don't, you tend to just leave that item where it is and think, oh, okay, I'll come back to that later because I'll have an idea where to put that. And then you don't. And then another item goes there, and then another item. And by the time you know it, there's an accumulation of items because they don't have a home. Let's not let these items be homeless. Find somewhere for it to go. And if you can't find anywhere for it to go, do you really need it? Get rid of it. That's when the decluttering comes into it. And doing that with organization as well, I would say some things that you don't routinely use, don't have it on display because it's another dust collector. So perhaps hide it away in a cupboard, put it in a loft, put it in a different space or area, and when you need it, bring it back out. I always say that with like the kitchen area, if there's utensils or kitchen appliances that you don't use routinely every single day, have it hidden away somewhere else and bring it back, because if you've got so much stuff on display, visually it looks messy, and no matter how much you clean the surfaces, even you might even be cleaning around the item and underneath is dirty, those type of things are encouraged if you just don't move it away and allow the space to be free flowing. Another thing with organization, I would say, is collating items together. Use your trays, use your bowls, use your baskets. All of these things are ways that you can group things together so that they're not spaced out everywhere. And you can get so many beautiful decorative trays that will go with the aesthetics of your room. So it's looking intentional and it's looking stylish. It's bringing in that nice kind of aesthetic look to it whilst having a purpose. I really kind of emphasize about practicality and functionality. And this is one way you can do it at a much smaller scale. And it's inexpensive. And you will see over time that doing that it just works so well with just bringing items together and just clearing the space, because free flowing space is so important. The last thing is about opportunities. Limit the opportunities. And what I mean by that is that try and avoid a collection point. So if you have a space like, I don't know, in your bedroom, you've got an ottoman or a chair that's in a space where visually it's easy for you to kind of put something on, put a bag on, put a coat on, put a piece of garment on there. Same thing with your living room, same thing with your kitchen. Don't have those items or opportunities that are readily available, because when you do that, you land them on there and then you'll say, okay, I'm going to come back to it later, I'm going to move it. And life is life and we get busy, we move on to the next item. And if you have a brain like mine, you will start one thing and you'll move on to the next thing without finishing the other thing, and then you will forget. So just limit opportunities by moving certain things around, moving it in different places so that it doesn't allow you to easily go towards it to put an item down. So let me make it a bit more clear. So for example, if you walk into the room and you have a chair to your right, automatically as you're coming in, you may feel like, oh, let me just leave this here, I'll come back to it. Get rid of that chair and put it further in the distance. So the time you travel to there is too much effort to put that item there. I hope I'm making sense. That's what I mean by limiting opportunities of mess. Now, I really enjoyed talking about this because I'm teaching myself as I'm talking. It's a learning curve. We're not going to get it right all the time. We're learning, but I really hope that these tips have really helped you, and maybe it might get you to think a little bit differently when you're cleaning and tidying up your home. But these are the reasons why your house may be a mess, because you're not applying some of these certain things, and I'm going to list them again. So try and apply these things. Do it routinely, be consistent with it, have joy, like this is not serious, like have fun with it, and you will see by doing this, mentally and physically, you will feel revived and you will have your home, you'll have a different outlook of your home and try and keep it tidy. Now make sure you come back and watch more videos, and I will see you next week in another one. Bye.